This is MG, and I want to welcome you to the Reimagine You Lab podcast. And you guys know how we do when we come in. It is always about us talking to the most influential, the most impactful, the most insightful individuals on the planet. And tonight we've got another one that has stepped in and is going to help us change our minds and change our perspective. But before we get into the show, I have to do a little bit of housekeeping. And so first, I want to thank you guys for getting us to that 10,000 followers on our wonderful Instagram. And I cannot believe it, but we have hit the 5,000 mark on Spotify. You guys, listen, we have hit 4,500, I believe it is, on YouTube. I am like thrilled. Like, you guys, thank you so much. We haven't even hit our 1 year anniversary day, and you guys are just like taking me over the moon. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Kudos to you. So make sure that you hit the like button, share this with your friends, your family, your colleagues, your peers. There's always something new that you can learn, that you can do, so that we can challenge you to make change your choice. All right. All the housekeeping is out of the way. There's somebody absolutely interesting that has stepped in tonight. And so I want to welcome Jaire. How are you today?
I am very, very good. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Michelle.
Well, I am so glad that you said yes, that you were available to jump in. I know it's early where you are at, so I am thankful that you have risen and shining with me this morning from your part of the woods. So with that, you know how we do. We are going to go beyond the bio. The audience already knows that that's what I was going to do. So take this time, tell them who you are, where you at, what you do, how you do it. And then we will just jump into a beautiful conversation. That sound all right?
Sure, sounds good to me.
All right.
All right, everyone. Hello, hello. My name is Jaire. I am 36 years old and I'm from New York originally, but I'm currently in Bangkok. I've been here for the last 8 months or so. I live here partially. The other part of the year I am in New York. I am originally by study an anthropologist and educator part-time. I do a little bit of modeling as well part-time, but my main business is, as you see in the background behind you, Leonine Consulting, which is a personal consulting service which offers Renaissance man or personal coaching that involves being the, how to say, total package. This involves mindset, it involves physical fitness, it involves imaging, or image coaching, I should say. It also involves language and social fluency. And so it involves a whole bunch of things that involve anthropology, which is the study of humans.
Listen, that's a lot, but you know what? There's a lot to humans. There's a lot to human interaction. It is. So, Jaire, so tell us, how did you get into consulting? How did Leonine Consulting get started?
So in 2021, after the pandemic, a couple of people were encouraging me to actually put my skills, my knowledge and experience in anthropology and living around the world into practice and giving them advice. I've given people advice on various things in the past for free or in a free capacity and a more disorganized capacity as well. So it just seemed better when those people made the request for me to put something together, organize it, and start delivering services in that nature. And it was pretty good. Ended up exactly.
No, you know what? That's good though. Like putting things into practice. So thinking about when you talk about you were telling me before we jumped on, I said I always say, listen, I better hit the record button because this conversation to get going and then we won't stop. So when you talk about, like, people were saying, hey, what with some of the experiences and stuff you had, you really ought to maybe help coach some people or talk to people, give people some advice. What type of things were people coming to you for? Like what?
Yeah, one of the biggest, well, everything, I should just say, I should anchor this. Everything is hinged or premised on your mindset, right? Everything starts with what's in here, how you think in here.
Absolutely.
So ultimately, whether you come to me for a fitness issue, whether you come to me with like a style and image issue, or whether you come to me with something having to do with dating and romantic fluency and the social skills involved with that, right? It's all going to effectively end up resulting in your mindset anyway. So it's kind of like a two for one in most cases. And so when you come with the mindset, or when you come to readjust the mindset, it's kind of along those lines. And
Yeah.
that is really the bread and butter. But a lot of times it's something like dating advice or something like image coaching that some people initially come to you with.
Yeah. No, I get it. So I would always think about, I'm not even sure where the quote came from, that mind over matter, but I believe it definitely is true, because that's what makes a difference for most people. One of the things that I always ask is, what is the thing that has made the most difference in your life? And you gave me a couple of answers that I was like, what? I'm always thinking, hey, I get some really interesting guests, but one of the things that you mentioned was surviving a murder.
Yeah, yeah. So this is one of I have two I guess anchoring thoughts in my
Mm-hmm.
mind from my life,
Yeah,
right?
take us
One
in
comes
it.
from a great source of pride, and one comes from a great source of trauma, unfortunately. The
Yeah.
one you're mentioning is the trauma one, of course, as it sounds like. I'll start with the pride one. It's a little bit shorter and sweeter, right? Start with the good news
Okay.
first.
Yeah.
So the first one is when my dad passed away in a motorcycle accident when I was doing my research for my master's. This is in 2016. 5 or so years prior to that, or within 5 years prior to that, he told me that as a son, I'm a better man than he is. That is for most sons who have an actual relationship with their father. That's exactly what you want. You
Yeah.
want that approval from your father to know that you and him actually kind of both were on the right track, right?
Yeah.
So that's one anchor for me. The second one, unfortunately, stems from a betrayal situation. There was someone from my high school actually who at the time we had a pretty good relationship in high school. He would come to my house, we'd play PlayStation 2. I'd go to his house, he'll play PlayStation 2. Our parents knew each other. He'd go to my house when I wasn't there, for example, and my mom would let him in and just hang out, wait for him to come home. He had some issues shortly after high school. He was actually the guy that people kind of bullied. It was one of, for me, it was like, hey guys, just leave him alone kind of thing. He had some issues after high school, got involved with some criminal activities, ended up going to jail for a situation. And then another unbelievable situation where he drove his car through a mall because his girlfriend was not trying to be with him anymore. So she worked in that mall and he decided to drive his car through there. He
Oh,
served some
wow.
jail time for that. Yes, absolutely ridiculous. He served some jail time for that, but it was I was not involved with that. So when he got out of jail, I decided, oh, it would be no harm to see this individual again, just for a short
Mhm.
time as an associate kind of thing. So he found out where I lived, which wasn't really much of a problem for me because I had no issue with him prior to. We had a good past. It was just kind of one of those things where communication dropped off. So that
Yeah.
day, actually, where I lived, it was a house that was partitioned to be an apartment, to set up for different apartments. And the
Mhm.
property next to me, they were incidentally, they were cutting down the forest behind it. So they were chopping trees down and there were all the wood chippers going and all the machines going. So you couldn't hear a thing. It was just loud, loud, loud. It was around noon time and I see him come up to my door. It's a glass sliding door on top of a deck. And I'm like, okay, cool. He's here. I'm going to say what's up to him. So I go dap him up outside and say, what's up, man? How you doing? Been a while. Had my phone out and I was on Facebook at the time. And I walked out, walked ahead of him. I didn't see anything in his hands, anything in his possession, and walked outside and stepped in front of him. And I've trained boxing before, and at that time I did martial arts, and
Mhm.
I've been hit many times. I've been hit many times by people, so I know what being hit feels like. And I just was like, randomly on my phone, I was like, whoa, got one of the strongest hits I ever had right in the back of my head, like right here. And I was
Wow.
like, why is this guy so strong? I was like, I accepted that I got hit, right? I
Mhm.
accepted that I got hit by something immediately, but I didn't know why he was so strong. Then I got hit, kind of like turning to try to see what's going on, and I get hit like right here, right? And then
Mhm.
kind of like woozy. A third time, the exact same spot. So that one drops me literally to my knees, and that one also splits me wide open. So the half of my face is completely bleeding to the point where I do not have any idea of perception on the right side of my face. I thought like I lost my eye because so much blood was coming down.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had no idea what I was getting hit with either at this point in time. I know I was just getting hit. And so I dropped right in front of him. But luckily enough, I knew martial arts. And so I started grappling with his legs. I guess that panicked him because I didn't get knocked out. I didn't,
You went out.
right. So then I started grappling with his legs. And that's when he started hitting me some more time. So at this point, I was hit three times. By the time I was grappling with him, he ended up hitting me five more times in that sequence. So while I'm getting hit, I'm trying to grapple with him, and I noticed there's like a barbecue grill, one of those like Weber grills that you pick up, charcoal
Mhm.
grills that you pick up like that. And I see it behind me, and I try to pick it up and use it as a shield. And when I try to deflect a hit, kind of like hits it and then drop. I still don't know what I'm getting hit with. It kind of like turn around kind of thing. Hit,
Mhm.
drop right in front of him again. But at this time, I happen to also fall right in front of the stairs. So it's him and the stairs. And I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm too weak. I've been fighting back. I'm panting. I'm feeling like I lost the eye, right? I still can't see
Yeah.
anything. So I literally jump off the stairs, get up, and I look back, and that's when I notice I'm getting hit with a hammer in the head. It
Oh
had
my.
a red fiberglass carpenter's hammer, and I'm getting hit in the head with that. So I get up, run around the front because my friend Jose we lived in the same house, but he lived in the front part of the house, right?
Yeah.
And he's like sleeping. I don't know if he probably worked the night before or whatever. Bang on his door. He's coming to the door like, well, that kind of like, and he's like,
Jeez.
whoa, whoa, what is that? What happened? And I just push him aside to try to run to his kitchen to grab a knife, to run back around and try to confront the guy again, but he's gone. And so my friend's like, whoa, we got to deal with this. He's calling the ambulance and all that. Police show up and they're like, how are you not dead? All the doctors are like, how are you not dead? They've seen people die from a lot less than that, one or two. Actually, I left the hospital the same day. I was not,
What?
yeah, I left the hospital the same day. I didn't take any pain meds because I did not suffer any concussion. I wasn't knocked out. I didn't suffer any permanent damage. The biggest situation that happened was the place where you hit me two times in the same
Mhm.
place.
Yeah.
On the inside, there was what's called a depressed skull fracture. And I don't know if you are familiar with your brain anatomy,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
on top of the brain, there is or between the skull and the brain, there's a blood-brain barrier. It's kind of like a bag for those who don't know.
Right.
And so little chips of the inside part of my skull, so it kind of like dented like this a little bit, and it
Yeah.
caused little flakes to come off. So
Mhm.
those little kind of flakes were just like floating on top of that bag, just on top of that bag of fluid. But there was no danger of them like migrating into
Puncturing. Yeah.
piercing. So they were just sitting on top. It was just like we don't need to do anything. So basically, I just got staples and sewed up and a couple hours in there, and what is the neck brace to make sure I didn't have like any
Mhm.
like any issues
Jaw.
of swelling and yeah, that was it. Unfortunately, he got away for a week. It took a week for the police to find him, which they found him taking a shower at his mom's house. And that same night, one of my friends ended up getting arrested, something unrelated, for I think a driving infraction or whatever, but ended up being in the same cell as the guy. And he used his phone call to call me and ask me what he thinks I should do about it. And I told him to leave it alone.
Yeah.
Just leave it alone because I don't want him to ramp up something for his life that was completely unrelated.
Yeah.
So I told him to leave that alone. But yeah, that was the story behind that. Unfortunately, as well, because of the nature of my injuries, they weren't more severe, or I wasn't more injured. That his charges were not reflective of his actions, which would be eight times in the head with a hammer. You would think that's attempted murder, but it would be they charged him officially with like assault with a weapon or deadly like that. So yeah,
Listen, you know what? There are some people and some things that whatever you've got to say and share and talk about, I just believe that it is pertinent, relevant. It was absolutely important for you to still be here. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, yeah, people don't survive that and survive it in a way where you still are doing positive and things to help other people. I mean, even telling your friend, like, man, don't even worry about it. Leave it alone. Like there's it's over and done. Wow. That's I am
Yeah,
so glad, Jair, that you here and you telling a different story. And you've got that story to tell and to share. Like so where sometimes people think, you know what, hey, I've got to vengeance is mine. No, it's not. You don't even have to worry about paying it back. I'm sure that that young man has many days when he's not sure how he got to where he is or why he's there or what he's but I know what you're doing is impacting a lot of people. So,
thank you. Yeah,
brother,
and
yeah, yeah,
it's a heavy one, but that's why it's one of my anchors, right? So for me,
yeah,
I look at it, and I don't know why he did it. I never got an explanation, and to me, it doesn't even matter because and I did seek therapy just in
mhm,
case for the idea of anything like PTSD popping up, right?
yeah,
Surprisingly, I don't have anything of that nature whatsoever. No reminders or traumatic reminders of hammers or seeing this guy or hearing his name
yeah,
or anything like that. And one of the reasons why is that I was told is that I provided my own closure in that situation. And
yeah,
I do believe that because immediately after that situation, I felt a level of empowerment that I never felt before or since. It
mhm,
felt because the best way to describe it, right, for me,
yeah,
survival, I think, is the ultimate test in life, right? Like
yeah,
literally the ultimate test in life. And I passed
yeah,
resounding with no one's help, no one's assistance, right? It was one of those situations where I can truly say it was all me, and I understand my level of capability, I guess my
mhm,
level of toughness, my confidence in myself, and it just unlocked a certain level of can do
yeah,
that I embrace to this day that I can never let go. So that's
yeah,
why I keep it as an anchor.
yeah. You know what that's good, and I think that's important. If I can pull a strand from that because oftentimes I like your perspective there because oftentimes people will go through something and they were victimized and they may have had the same type of an outcome but even in the way that they tell the story is still like maybe the victim portion comes forward more somebody attacked me like this attack that I had the end of this the beginning the middle the end of the story is like I was attacked I was able to live through it but somebody came to my home and tried to harm me and I'm just glad I made it through it but I like what you said there that what hey I survived I was alone I did not give up I struggled and fought back you know what I have that to show that you know what I have a capability within
Mhm.
that I can do what I need to do when the chips are down. Like
Exactly.
I can make it. Like I can yeah, I'm gonna fight my way out of it and I'm gonna be all right.
That's
Hey,
exactly how I look at it, because it's
yeah,
like I said, if surviving in a moment of survival, I should say, is the ultimate
yeah,
test, right? Then what's me getting the confidence needed to just get the next project done and forget about what this person might think, right? What's that compared to literally saving your life, right? Something like so when you put it into perspective, it's like it's not a big deal.
yeah. Hey, I can do this. I've survived much worse. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? I no, that's remarkable. I love that. You know what? You talked about something else. You said like you work with people on mindset, and I think mindset is the first hurdle that most people have to go through. I can see you being a very strong coach, being able to draw on an experience like that and being able to share that with people, being able to draw on an inner strength and being able to help people find that inner strength within. I imagine that's part of the practices that you do. What do you find is one of the biggest things or the hardest things that people struggle with when it comes to changing their mindset?
The hardest thing, I would say, acceptance of the nature of change in and of itself, right? I think on a basic level, a lot of us, we know, all right, times change, nothing stays the same. We kind of know that, but we don't
Mhm.
want to accept that
Yeah.
realistically in our lives, in practice, in our day-to-day actions. We really don't want to break those habits. We really don't want to stop seeing those familiar people or eating those familiar foods or that situation that we know is not good for us, but something about it just feels a little right, just feels a little home, those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's real talk because you're right. Like it's comfortable. It's natural. It's almost for in a lot of ways it's innate. Like I've been doing it so long, it's easier to do this than it is to do something different. And so we stay fixed in patterns that a lot of times aren't serving us well. But there's those things that we want our life to be something different. When I think about like a lot of the folks that I talk to, I call myself a reimagined strategist. I'm like, I want you to reimagine what something new looks like. What if all things being all bets off, money's not a factor, living situation's not a factor, all things could what do you want or what do you want things to look like for you? And sometimes when people really answer the question, they find that it's going to require some action that they're going to have to take that's going to be different than the actions that they're taking right now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of times that is the case.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like how bad do you want that new thing, that new life, that new attitude, that new home, that new body, that new relationship? And what are you willing to do to have it?
Right. Absolutely. You are absolutely right.
Yeah, now so when you talk about you struck me you talked about or you said something that you do mindset, you do image coaching, social fluency. Was that what you said to me? Social
Yes.
fluency.
Social
Talk
fluency.
All right, talk to me about social fluency because I think I know some people that probably need some help with some social fluency. So define it for folks first. I
Hmm.
think I know what it means, but I want you to define it first and then talk us through a little bit about how what kind of help people need with social fluency.
Sure, sure, sure. So social fluency is kind of a bit, on the nose with it. So it's better how to have better social skills, and that entails both verbal communication as well as nonverbal communication. The verbal communication part is obviously self-explanatory, how to match what you're saying to when you're saying and to who you're saying in the appropriate times.
Mhm.
So that's how you do that on the verbal end. And then the nonverbal end is a little less straightforward, but that involves what we call in linguistics and anthropology kinesics and proxemics. Kinesics is body language or anything having to do with gestures or anything
Mhm.
having to do with expressions of facial expression. And proxemics is distance between people and what information you can learn or gain from actual the feet, inches, or whatever between people, right? And the information from that. And so we combine those aspects of anthropology, which is my science of expertise,
Mhm.
and then we do a kind of like a bespoke, customized assessment of kind of where you are. A lot of times in the field, I've done this in the field to see are you a little too aggressive on your approach? Do you ask too many personal questions up front? Are you making enough eye contact? Is your body language locked off? Are you standing too close? Are you standing too far? Stuff like that. And put that all together and try to give tips and improvements in practice, and give them an idea of how to improve all of those based on our general modern Western norms in society.
No, that you know what? That's really clever because I think people probably don't even really think about that. So, do you find that when you are working with folks that people is this something that people are completely like, "Oh my goodness, I hadn't even thought about this?" Or do you find that people are like, "You know what? I think about this all the time and I know I'm not doing this right."
I think, yeah, it's the latter. A lot of people do not have any idea. Oh, sorry, the former. A lot of people do not have any idea about any of this stuff. The most common idea is with verbal. People think it's most often what I say, and then there's some people who think how I say it, and they're not really understanding it's both of those things and more.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I like that. Both of those things and more. No, that's good. That is really good. So how does that so has that changed in this world where now like, just like us, we're on these virtual screens and things like that. Are
Yeah.
people, did it change a lot when the world during the pandemic, the world went internal and we went digital. And so
Mhm.
is it the same the way
Yeah.
that or is it different?
Yeah, there's definitely a noticeable decline in overall face-to-face interactions. And like I mentioned before, the proxemics thing, right? What ends up happening is this kind of like illusion of closeness because of the cell phone and the internet and social media, right? You have the
Mhm,
illusion of being like physically in the same space because
mhm,
you're on the same platforms, but you are actually geographically far away. So you kind of get a mix of the behaviors associated with both, right? Because technically, all
mhm.
right, so for example, when people are far away from each other, they kind of enjoy a certain level of anonymity from each other, right?
Right.
But at the same time, because you are in the same on the same platform at the same time, even though you could be 10 time zones away from each other, there's also this idea that you're in the same space and in occupying the same type of thing. So there's a certain level of, I guess, like looseness or informality in certain conversations that happen online, with both that informality mixing with the anonymity can
Mhm.
and sometimes and often does end up with seeing trolls online, for example. Like that's one of the
Right.
good components of a troll right there, right? So certain things like that, or people like not really necessarily knowing how to open up and start
Mhm.
conversations anymore, or keep a conversation going. It's like I think small talks a situation just for getting the information that people need in a small talk. I'm not really caring about what the weather is like. I don't really care about that. It's an invitation for me to talk about a different thing. That's what that is. It's like an icebreaker, right? So it's
Yeah.
like people aware of those kind of things.
Yeah. So that is so interesting. I really like being able to do that. So you said that you guys create like bespoke kind of plans essentially for people based on how you have either observed or how you have assessed what their needs may be. So when you are doing these observations, are people like right there with you, or is it like you have a party and then you just kind of observe how they are acting in a party, or do you put them in like virtual scenarios and see how they act in a virtual environments, or how does that work? How do you do that?
So I think personally the field is the best, but
Okay.
it's obviously presents its own logistical problems, right? We have to be in the same place, same schedule, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The information you get from the field is uncomparable, right?
I bet.
It's real time, first of all. Second of all, it's variable.
Hmm.
That's the next best thing. You know, each person that's in the bar, club, lounge, rest, whatever, wherever we decide to go, isn't
Yeah.
going to be the same person each time, right? You're going to get a
Right.
different person to talk to. So you get variability in that as well. So so the data becomes richer. And
Mhm.
then in that time, you could also correct on the fly a lot better, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I went to this person and they said this to me. I went to this person and I got this reaction, all right, or I got no reaction. Why is
Mhm.
that? And correct on the fly. So I prefer the field. Other than that, I would say like one on one where we discuss a scenario, right? Discuss like a
Okay.
hypothetical or discuss what they think is the best solution for a hypothetical or something like that, and kind of
Yeah.
play with it in that way. That's probably the most common way because obviously,
Mhm.
like I said, the field is logistically difficult to do.
Yeah. You know what it puts me in the mindset of? Have you ever seen that movie? Is it Eat, Pray, Love?
Eat, pray, love. I did not see it. No, I did not see it. I'm familiar with the title.
Okay, you'll have to. It has Ryan Gosling
Mhm.
and Emma Stone. Oh my gosh, I can't think of the guy's name from The Office. Oh, I can't think of his name. But it's a really cute movie. But Ryan Gosling is giving advice to the guy from The Office's character. Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. But anyway, it is a fun movie. It's funny, but it reminds me, yeah, somebody that's giving human fluency probably type of advice. You would like it. Like you would like, okay, Michelle, you kind of spot on. As a matter of fact, if you watch it, it's probably on Netflix. I want you to tell me if you watch it, you'd be like, Michelle, yeah, I think
Sure.
that's
Okay.
yeah, it would it's a cool movie, but it just reminds me sometimes we need help and we don't know that we need that we
Right.
need that kind of help. Seriously. You know what? So I want people to reach out to you because the work and stuff that you're doing, I think would be super helpful to a lot of people. You guys can reach out to Jaire at Leonine Consulting. That's LeoNineConsulting.com. Of course, you can get all of the info at the bottom of just check the link in the description and you can get in contact with them. Now, Jair, I swear the time just goes by way too quickly. But before I let you go, I always like to ask guests, what would you tell change makers, people that are making changes in the areas of your expertise? What would you say are three things that you would give them in terms of the best advice maybe you've ever received? What do you tell folks?
Hmm. Three pieces of advice. All right. So number one, never stop being curious. The idea that you can't teach an old dog new tricks is not true. You can keep learning throughout life. There is a best time for that when you're a kid, but that doesn't mean that it stops or that it actually becomes a bad time for it. There's not a bad time, it's just a best time for it. So that's number one. Number two, let in that situation or in life, let change or don't let change be something that's scary. It's an inevitability. It's something that every one of us has to go through. Sometimes it can be challenging, and that's how it should be looked at as something challenging that you can adapt from, but not something that should be scary, right? Because it's going to happen anyway. And the third one, I would say, just I guess it's more like a principle of mine. Just always, think that whatever you have in the tank or whatever you think you have in the tank consciously, you probably have more than that.
I love that. Yeah, good stuff. Curiosity.
Hmm.
Always stay curious. That's so good. So good. Change is not scary. Don't think it's scary. Just do it.
Yep.
Jump in. And that principle, whatever you got in the tank, you got a little more. That's good. That is so good. Jair, it has been my pleasure having you in the lab today. Thank you so much for coming
You're
on.
welcome.
Thank you so much for coming on. You guys make sure you guys go out there and check out Jair at Leonine Consulting. He is doing some phenomenal work
Yeah,
over
you're
there
welcome.
in Bangkok.
Thank you.
Yeah, good work. Thank you for jumping on. All right. Well,
Thank you,
this has
Michelle.
absolutely, absolutely. This is MG, the Reimagined Strategist. And I just want to thank you for tuning in to the Reimagine You Lab podcast, where every Friday we drop a new episode. So make sure you have hit the subscribe button. Share this episode with your friends, your family, your colleagues, your peers. There is something that every one of us can do when it comes to change. Remember that change is only a choice. Have a good night, guys, and I'll see you next time.